Hi, my name's Peter Randall-Page. I'm a sculptor and I'm doing an interview today with these guys.
Welcome to the artthou show. This artist celebrates the natural world and its underlying energy. Please give a warm welcome to Peter Randall-Page.
Thank you very much.
Welcome to the artthou show.
Thank you.
So, can you please, first of all, just give us a little introduction about what it is that you do?
Yes, well, I make art, mainly three-dimensional art, sculpture. And I suppose I've just been kind of interested in phenomena in the world, natural phenomena particularly, from childhood. And maybe that's partly because I was very dyslexic as a child, so I couldn't kind of access information in the usual way that people do through reading and, you know, books and so on. Yeah. The only way for me to really understand things was from first principles, so, you know,
hands-on,
just sort of using kind of native intelligence. And although at the time being dyslexic as a child is, you know, is pretty grim, I mean, it's not much fun at school, because it was a matter of being told you were either lazy or stupid. And of course, stupid was the better option because it's not your fault if you're stupid, whereas if you're lazy, it's your fault.
Then it's a choice, yeah. So you grew up around nature?
I did. I grew up in the countryside. My father was a kind of commercial artist, a model maker.
Oh, really?
So he made things called dioramas, which they used to have in museums quite a lot, where you have a kind of, it's like a box with a glass front. The background is painted, and then the foreground becomes more and more three-dimensional.
Yes. Like
sort of models in a box, really.
Yeah.
And so I spent my childhood helping him do that kind of thing.
Oh, really? You helped your dad growing up, but it wasn't exactly the sort of, you know, three-dimensional art that you're doing today. So what sort of introduced you to taking it seriously and professionally? Yeah,
I mean, I think I always felt that I wanted to understand what makes us tick, you know, what makes human beings, what, you know, this extraordinary ability that we've got, that evolution has kind of produced something.
Yes.
The human brain and our consciousness. Yeah. Which is capable of kind of, it's like a mirror. It's produced a mirror which can then reflect on itself. And I think that, in a way, that's sort of where all my desire to understand, on the one hand, how things fit together, you know, why things are like they are, and also the subjective impact that stuff has, that phenomena has on our feelings and our emotions, and, you know.
Your work is huge. This is big pieces.
Some of them are. They also make little tiny things too, I mean, I think I always enjoyed the straightforward kind of sensuality of form. You know, it seems to me something which I just have always had a kind of feeling for. And, you know, I think in a way using stone, which is, I don't only use stone, I mean, I draw and make prints and work in other materials, but I'm probably best known for working in stone.
Yes.
And the thing I like, I suppose, about stone is that it is just dumb matter. It's just stuff. It's quintessentially stuff. It's what the earth's made of. And it doesn't have any kind of intrinsic human meaning about it, unless you think of analysing the geology of it. I mean, it doesn't have, it's just indifferent stuff. But I do think what makes life worth living is the fact that we make things meaningful. We make stories. We make the world meaningful. You know, if you ask anybody about their life, they make a narrative out of it. They make a story out of it, because, you know, human beings can't deal with just one damn thing after another. We have to make it into a structure. We have to give it meaning. When you look at natural phenomena, as well as the things that human beings make, as well as cultural phenomena, they both have this sense of a tension between sort of theme and variation, or between sort of structure and randomness. If you look, things form into patterns. If we only had that without the random variation, well, nothing would change, you know.
Yes.
It requires the two things together. The fact that, you know, every human face has got the same 2 eyes, nose, mouth.
Yeah.
And yet, you know, every single one is different. Every single leaf on the oak tree outside is different.
Yeah. So you do a lot of commission work as well.
Yes.
And there, I assume, you will be given a framework.
No, I will invent the framework, so they will come to me because they've seen things that I've done in the past, and for whatever reason they feel, the sort of thing I do might be appropriate for a particular place. And then I come up with an idea, and then they either say yes or no.
Yeah.
Ultimately.
Have you ever gotten a no?
Oh, yeah.
You have?
Oh,
right.
yeah.
So first they give you a
Hundreds.
free ballroom, and then they say no.
No, well, of course they have. They won't only choose me. They'll ask probably 5 or 6
Yes.
different artists and pay a small fee to come up with an idea, and then they'll choose from those ideas.
Do they ever sort of put it out there? We are looking for someone, or do they
They
always
do.
approach?
No, they do. There are things. There's a thing called the Artist Newsletter. You may have come across it. That's a great kind of directory of all the competitions, and there are lots of open competitions where you apply, you express interest, and then you get shortlisted. And
Yeah, your space is grand. You have 2 assistants. You have also they're office assistants.
yes,
And then you have at least 1 assistant
yeah,
on the actual.
yeah, sort of 2.5, 3
Yeah.
people, that kind of thing.
So when do you know that sort of, all right, I made it. I'm gonna make a living out of this. This is really going the right.
Yeah.
When did you know that?
Well, a few lucky things happened. I left art college. I happened to meet a sculptor called Barry Flanagan, who I worked with for a year or so.
Were you his assistant?
I was his assistant,
Alright.
and he was really, you may not have come across his work, but he's an interesting artist, very poetic sculptor. And that was great. That was very lucky and very wonderful. And then I worked doing restoration work on Wells Cathedral in Somerset, so that was working on medieval sculpture. Another great opportunity,
Yes.
to learn more about sculpture. And I was lucky that I was interested in doing public art at a time where it was just the beginning of a revival in the idea of public sculpture in the 70s.
Right.
And I think as quite a young man in early 20s, I managed to do a couple of fairly big scale commissions that were within budget, and they worked, and it was okay, and and that in a way gave me, it was those commissions that were a sort of guaranteed, when I had them, a guaranteed amount of money coming in, which allowed me to then spend time playing in the studio.
Do you get a certain amount of the pay before you start, and then the rest when you install it? How does that work?
It usually works a third at the signing of the contract at the beginning, so when you actually sign down and make the agreement, a third kind of halfway through,
Okay.
and sometimes they want to come to the studio
And inspect
and have a
them,
look,
yeah.
Or they want to see photographs, and a third on finishing,
On installation.
completing, and all that.
Yeah. When were you able to actually hire all these assistants?
I think, already when we lived in London, which was, as I said to you earlier, we've been here in this place for 30 years now this year. In London, I did have a certain occasional assistance when I had a big project.
Yeah.
But just I get somebody in for a couple of weeks to help me with something.
Exactly.
I think when we moved here, everybody, all my art colleagues in London all thought, moving to Devon, middle of nowhere, professional suicide. But in fact, it's been fine. I haven't had meteoric international success, but I've made a living making sculpture, for 30, 40 years.
Yes.
And I haven't had to compromise. I haven't, I've made exactly what I want to make.
You do exhibitions as well.
Yeah.
And I think I read somewhere that you prefer group exhibitions. Is that right?
No, not particularly.
No.
I'd rather have a one-person space. It is quite fun occasionally when if you really get an interesting relationship between maybe 2 artists or
Yes.
something. Is quite an interesting thing. And we had a recent concert actually a few weeks ago, just before Christmas. It had a lot of new piece of music composed in response to some of my sculpture.
How does that feel like?
Weird, quite
Yeah.
weird. In fact, I think, you don't listen to the music and think, oh, that's a kind of, auditory equivalent of the object.
Have you ever heard something and then said, no, that is not.
I couldn't possibly say.
For anyone that's up and coming and want to do sculpturing, what I hear from you to try to work towards getting it in public places is
Yeah.
a really good way to start, because then you can meet other people, engineering, architects, and all that sort of stuff. And you really...
Well, that was good. That was a good way for me. I mean, I'm not sure. Yes, there is more of a tradition now of public art than there was, when I was at art school.
What is it you think that makes a great artist?
I think it maybe sort of noticing things is quite important. Just noticing stuff.
So being more aware of...
Yeah, just to kind of, not be to have reverie, I suppose. But I think the art that I love the best is all the sort of anon art. It's all the Egyptian sculpture. We don't know who made them.
Oh, right, yeah.
Sort of pre-Columbian.
Is that the
South
thing that sort of
American stuff.
intrigues you, though? Like, you don't know who made it?
No, that's not the reason. That's not the reason, no. But they are, they seem to speak about something very, very fundamental about what it is to be a human being, and and the fact that they developed through a continuous cultural tradition.
Yes.
So it's almost like a sort of cultural natural selection. If you look at Egyptian sculpture, for example, I think, that's for me the art that I love most.
Some artists, they think that everything should be handmade by you,
Yeah.
like with drawings and things too. It's been hand printed by me, and
Sure.
this and that from.
I think it is important for me that I do have my hands very much on the thing at certain stages, but there are bits that I can delegate.
Yes.
I don't want to be asking my assistants to be making aesthetic or intellectual decisions on my behalf. That would be unfair, and it wouldn't be, so there are certain parts of the process. I mean, I'm probably much more hands-on actually than many sculptors of my generation and younger generations, because but if in a way it has to be hands-on, because if the reality of the object doesn't transcend the verbal description,
Yes.
then actually why make the object?
Yes.
If you can get everything from the concept, from the words, then actually if it really is, I don't really see the point in illustrating it by making the thing. Throughout history, I mean, people have never made very large sculptures, stone sculptures, bronze sculptures, whatever sculptures, on their own any more than an architect actually puts all the bricks in the building.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Do you sell your work independently, or do you have an agent or a gallery that represents you?
I work with lots of different galleries. I don't have any particular agent or any particular gallery, so I do run everything from here, and I work with other galleries and with dealers and things, but not exclusively.
Not exclusively, no. Have you tried that in the past?
A bit. I mean, I did have an agent for a while, but actually I've got used to the independence of being able to control everything. If there's a project that isn't very well paid but is really exciting with amazing people, some amazing thing, I can just do it and think, well, I'm not going to make any money, or I'm not going to make much money. If I was with an agent, they wouldn't want me to waste my time,
Yes.
doing that, because they wouldn't, so there is a kind of, it's a double-edged sword. I mean, there's that independence. On the other hand, I've never had anybody promoting my work, internationally at a high level.
Who does the delivering, and how do you do the...
Well, with anything, up to about, 10 tons or something, we've got equipment to deal with things here. If it's a big,
you got your own
exceptionally big...
equipment?
Yeah, I've got some equipment, and... over the years, I've obviously worked with lots of transport people and crane people and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And you just make sure that you've got enough in your budget to actually, for a commission or for an exhibition, to be able to cover the costs. And it can be, things get a little bit bigger and they get an awful lot heavier.
Yeah, and then it's suddenly...
the one I did for the Eden project, I don't know if you've been down there in Cornwall. It was a very, very, very big sculpture, which took 4 years to make and required very, very special sort of lifting equipment. A 167-ton piece of stone that we quarried. And then when it went into the building, got craned into the centre of the building, it was 70 tons. And but, I mean, all these things can be done. You just have to... make sure there's enough money, the client or whoever's
Yeah.
commissioning has enough
And where
money.
we put it, that it can handle the weight.
Oh yes, and obviously build special foundations and all that, but it's all kind of perfectly possible. Got to make absolutely sure you have, loads of public liability. When you work with a crane company or a transport company, they'll often have their own insurance, and then of course you have to decide whether their insurance is enough.
Cool, yeah.
And often you don't want to make, you want to make sure that you're not sort of covered by two different insurances, because then if something did go wrong, they can sort of try and wriggle out. They can both try and wriggle out of it. So, in my, lifting and moving equipment when I started was a little sort of sack barrow, and and a sort of couple of 3 scaffold tubes and a little hoist or something. I did a project over about a 10-year period immediately around here where I live, and when we first moved here, with a wonderful organisation called Common Ground. I don't know if you've ever come across them. Really interesting sort of environmental arts organisation, and they commissioned me to make stuff just around here on publicly accessible land. And I didn't want any signs on any of them, so they're just dotted around the place. I mean, you can ask the lady in the shop and she'll tell you where things are, but actually you come across them.
Thank you so much for coming on my show.
Pleasure. No, that's fine.
And for everybody watching, remember, be different, be you. Until next time.
Great.
Yeah.
No,
It's a pretty busy
Fantastic.
schedule.
it's amazing workshop.